What is up, Freedom Beef podcasters? This is Ren here, and today is the first movie review for this show. And I figured why not kick this off with one of the biggest movies of the year, if not of all time, Avengers Infinity War. This is 10 years in the making for the MCU, and it really doesn't disappoint. So the story is Thanos is after the Infinity Stones, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Avengers, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man all have to stop him. And what's really interesting about this movie and what Marvel did well with Black Panther is making a really sympathetic villain. You kind of understand what Thanos is wanting to do because he has his own manipulative ways, and he does have a certain point when it comes to uh, wiping out half of the existence of the human race and more races, and making sure everyone is not hungry and that they can save the earth, which is understandable. But before getting some more things, I want to talk about the performances, especially Josh Brolin as Thanos. This guy has had an incredible year so far. Between this and Deadpool 2, which are the only two films I've seen him in that are either sequels to franchises or just movies with him in general, he sells it as Thanos. He is intimidating. I couldn't tell it was Josh Brolin, even though his voice is recognizable if you know his work in No Country for Old Men and other works. But also, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther is still awesome. But I think besides Thanos, the best character is Tony Stark again. This is his best since probably the first Iron Man, in my opinion. But all the action's great. But I want to talk about something else that I know has gotten a lot of people either frustrated or memed up is Peter Quill. And if you haven't seen the movie, this is spoilers, so here it is. I understand why Peter Quill decided to break Thanos' concentration because he loved Gamora. And honestly, if I was in that situation, I would too. But also, you have to think he's not an idiot. Doctor Strange is kind of an idiot for not using the time stone to rewind it and have Nebula stop him. Or hell, even his robe stopping Peter from doing it. It's just one of those things where it's just like, okay, this could have been avoided if other people stepped in. But my thing with the biggest idiot of the movie, and this is going to be shocking for everyone, is Loki. So if you didn't know, at the end of Thor Ragnarok, he grabbed the Tesseract, and that's why this whole thing started. And he died because he grabbed the Tesseract and basically screwed over all the surviving people of Asgard. And yes, Thanos would have found out, but Loki was such a thundering dumbass that he makes Danny Rand and his cell phone look like a genius in comparison. And if you don't get Danny Rand and his cell phone in The Defenders, basically, Danny Rand, the Iron Fist, brings his cell phone into place that's easily trackable, and the hand finds him. And that's basically the same thing with Loki. He almost does the exact same thing and screws over everyone. And if that doesn't make sense, I get that he is the god, trickster god, but that is such a stupid move on his part because he knows that contains an Infinity Stone. And there could have been more surviving members of Asgard to help at the end battle. But speaking of spoilers, yeah, everyone's right. The scene where Gamora dies has me emotional, but not as emotional as when she first tells Star Lord that if anything happens, to kill her, and when Peter basically has to put the gun to her head because Thanos forced it. That's kind of heartbreaking. But the most heartbreaking moment is, again, Spider Man disappearing. And this is where everyone agrees on that Spider Man disappearing is one of the hardest of like all the disappearing characters to watch because you saw that grow in Homecoming. And I've gone on a little bit too long than normal, but I had a lot of things to say about the whole Star Lord controversy, and I know that a lot of people will not like me for saying that Loki was a thundering dumbass, but whatever. I think this is the best MCU film so far, and this movie just blew me out of the water more than the first Avengers. If you haven't seen it and you're a Marvel fan, seriously, just go watch it right now. All right, back to you guys.